Hello everyone. Today I'm at Bishopwearmouth Cemetery in Sunderland. Just come to have a look at two headstones which have, I think, two decent stories and a bit of history behind the two of them. The rain stopped and it's getting a little bit lighter, so I've just popped out. So I can get round there. Just let you know, the story does have some sensitive themes. It's not anything graphic, but just obviously there is a story with an ending on here. So I'll just cut through here. This is a good old part of Bishopwearmouth Cemetery with lots of history. We're close to the spot of the two headstones we're going to visit. But just to give you an example, in remembrance of William Wilson, Grange Crescent, Sunderland. That's that fine crescent at the end of Stockton Road. As you can see, these headstones are quite old. 1858, there's another one, 1858. The cemetery only opened on the 2nd of May 1856. So this is one of the areas that would have been used first of all, close to these two chapels. So this is the purpose of the visit, is for this headstone here, for members of the Fawcett family. And this one is for members of the Hay family. They're quite close together. They're both huge headstones, and that one looks like it's actually going to tip over. But if you have a look, if you can just see how legible that is. So that must have gone up close to 1858, but the quality of that stone, absolutely perfectly legible. And so is this one. They're both designed by the same monumental masons. I think it was Rosebery, I'm not 100% sure, but they do look, they were one of the main firms. Now these headstones, not just the fact they're close together, have a lot in common. Now, so this one, the patriarch of this family was a guy called Joseph Fawcett of Bishopwearmouth, who was a ship owner, and he also manager of a glassworks as well, and he lived in Sunderland, but he did go to Newcastle with his family while, came back to Sunderland, and he lived at Woodside, which is a lovely terrace with its own private gardens in Ashbrook, so he was well to do. This one is the patriarch of this family was Henry Hodgson Ogle Hay. He was a surgeon, lived in Bishopwearmouth, but he was from Boreham up in Northumberland. In about 1848 he qualified as a surgeon, and he married this lady, Elizabeth Black, over at Tanfield, and the family moved to Bishopwearmouth, and he had his home and his surgery on Fawcett Street. But before then he was living at Bridge Street, which is just off Wearmouth Bridge, one end of Fawcett Street. Now in 1862 is when he died, but in 1858, when he lived at that house Bridge Street, his wife Elizabeth Black died July the 16th 1858, ages 34 years. Then just a few months later, his brother Charles William Black died at the same property on November the 1st, and he was just aged 36 years. So bearing in mind they probably would have had a decent home for the time, comfortably off. Possibly they died of consumption. You only know if you get the death certificate. But at some stage Henry remarried, and I think it was about 1859, a lady called Sarah Maria Wilson of Newcastle, and that's when he made his home and had his surgery at Fawcett Street. Now, by coincidence, Joseph, he lost his first wife She was only 35 years in 1866, and by coincidence, her name was Sarah Black. So I've never found a connection between Elizabeth and Sarah Black. Possibly is, I just can't find it. But got members of his family listed here. His daughter, one died in infancy, one lived to 83. One of his daughters was Sarah Lizzie Fawcett, widow of the late Venerable Archdeacon Warren of Osaka, Japan, and daughter of the above. She lived to 73-year-old, but she got married out in Japan. She must be one of the first British people to get married out there. Her husband was a missionary and she went out there. They both got married. They survived. There was a massive earthquake in the 1890s in Japan. They survived that. But her husband, the Archdeacon Warren, he actually fell down a cellar a few years later, banged his head, never recovered, and died shortly after. But this above Joseph Fawcett, he died September the 1st, 1887, aged 64 years. And that was at his home, I think it was 11 Woodside in Ashbrook. Sadly, he took his life in a water closet. His wife found him hanging there. There was an inquest. There was only 2 witnesses called, and the coroner said it was due to a personal matter. It was mentioned that he might have lost some money in shipping, and this caused him to take his own life. So that is Joseph Fawcett. Sad end. He was a big primitive Methodist in the town, and he was very much well respected. Now, our surgeon, Henry Hodgson Ogle here, he one day at this surgery on the March the 5th, 1862, he was just 43 years, he took his own life through poison. One of the witnesses at the inquest said he'd started to worry about one day becoming poor and having poverty in his life. Another witness, I think was another doctor and colleague, believed he was going insane with some disease of the brain or the spine. It's just possible. One of the symptoms of tertiary syphilis is general paralysis of the insane, was a term used for that, where the syphilis could get into your spine, your brain, and generally drive you insane. That's something that could happen to quite a few people back in those days. So the 2 men, buried just a few yards apart, both successful in their own right, both respected, both with money, both comfortably off, both took their own lives. And here they are at Bishopwearmouth Cemetery. There is a sad twist to the tale. Now, Henry's wife left Sunderland. He did have some adult children, but she left Sunderland and moved back to Newcastle to live with her parents. Now, in the last quarter of 1862, she gave birth, and she named that baby Henrietta Maria Hay, obviously in memory of Henry. So possibly when Henry took his own life, him and his wife Sarah didn't know that she was pregnant at the time. He also had 3 or 4 adult sons. One of them died on a voyage to New Zealand, was buried at sea. I think another one became a chemist in Gateshead. So his sons were quite successful. But just like the headstone for Joseph Fawcett and Henry Hay, there's no mention of the second wives, which they did have. So that was just an example of some of the history you can find in some of these stones, some of the sad stories about some of the former residents of Bishopwearmouth. Just so you know where you are, we're just along from the southern cemetery at Bishopwearmouth. Just noticed another interesting headstone while we're here. Look at that. William Bryden, upholsterer and cabinet maker of Bishopwearmouth, who died 6th of March 1867, aged 53 years. He was born in Edinburgh, and he lived and died at Waterloo Place in the centre of the town. There's another desirable residence mentioned, a much beloved stepson of John Doxford of Bede's Terrace. I will ransom them from the power of the grave. That one's by the mason A.R. Fry. You can just see that. Said if you ever walk around here, you get so much information from some of these particular headstones. While we're here, we'll just take a look at this. It's a great surname, Pomfret. That is, I believe, the only above ground burial vault in the whole of Bishopwearmouth Cemetery. It's bricked up now. There will be some of it underground, so you would come in through here and there'd be some steps down, there'd be some shelves where coffins would be placed, and this was for the members of the Turnbull family. Actually looks like it's coming apart a little bit there. I can't remember seeing that last time I was here. And there's the roof of it there, so the camera on top, I've obviously never been up there. But these are filled in now, but they were air vents, so that air in for circulation. There isn't many. Oh look, it's in a prominent position, but it's the only one. So I don't know if possibly it was to do with the water table or just the expense. Yeah, I've done a video here before and I cannot remember these cracks appearing there. There's it, you can just see another vent there. Somebody mentioned in the past that back in the 70s you could actually see in through the door, but it has been bricked up. There are a few other vaults, but these are underground. Like these things here, these burial grounds built into the hillside, where they're more like brick graves. I'll just visit one more while I'm here. This is the members of the Johnston family, possibly Scottish roots, the E on the end. But you won't find many mentions of any memorials to people who mention injuries received in the Zeppelin air raid. That was in 1916. There was a German Zeppelin went over Sunderland, around Millfield, across the Weir and over at Monkwearmouth. And then, in remembrance of Ernest Little Johnston, beloved husband of Mary Johnston, died April the 2nd, 1916, through injuries received in the Zeppelin air raid, aged 31 years. Literally, a Zeppelin was flying over the town, and one of the Germans on board the Zeppelin was just dropping bombs all over the place as they passed over. I never realised they're actually hard to shoot down, Zeppelins, because if you fired a bullet through it, it would just scan through like the cloth that was holding it all up. But it was wasn't publicised due to the war for a couple of years. But several people were killed. There is a memorial cross over at Monkwearmouth Green. Just leave you with a shot of the cemetery. Thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy that, please give it a like and click on the subscribe. It helps grow the channel. And hopefully next time I see you, what you hear is, I'll see a video, it's a much brighter day, which I think it will be this weekend. So I might get out and about and do a few more videos. So I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.